Hi everyone. For this week's newsletter episode, I am talking all about chiropractors and my views on chiropractic care. I get asked this question all the time. Is it good? Is it bad? Does it help my overall long-term pelvic health or structural health overall? And I just want to share my views here, as well as talk about our own physiology and understanding what is actually happening and how that gives us really the power to be able to speak to whoever is assisting us with our health, either in the allopathic or the more integrated and holistic model, and be able to speak clearly about what it is that we need for our own bodies. Okay, so to chiropractor or not to chiropractor? It is not such a simple question. The range among chiropractors is as broad as like the range among doctors or the range among midwives. There can be practitioners that are very grounded in the allopathic model of care, or ones that have a far maybe more broad or integrated approach to health. So just like in all other areas of life, really understanding and trusting that you have a similar value system with your provider is the first thing that I would look for when looking for a chiropractor. I now want to talk a little bit about the physiological components as I understand them and how they relate to chiropractic adjustments. So the idea that our bones get moved from like out of place, like my back went out, or it's back in that wrong spot again, and then they get adjusted or moved back into place by a chiropractor is not physiologically accurate. Our bones move throughout a range of healthful placements. And when a bone gets stuck or immobilized in one specific location throughout that range, that is what we're looking to shift through a chiropractic adjustment, either a manual adjustment or a low force adjustment. So it is not addressing the incorrect placement and putting it back in line, but rather addressing the immobility and getting that structure back to mobility. I want to compare this to what I talk about all the time in regards to our musculature or our muscle tissue, where I say there's no such thing as a tight muscle, which we're not going to get into the physiology of why that's true in this video, but maybe that's a future one. But rather that our muscles, when they feel tight, they're actually just immobilized, and they're either immobilized in a lengthened state or immobilized in a shortened state. But the issue is that that muscle is not actually moving through its full range, and therefore it is locked, right? It's stuck. And that need to reestablish the muscle's ability to move through full range is what's crucial for returning to healthy function. So this is as true for our bony placements as it is for our muscular capacity. So we want our bones to move throughout their healthy range and our musculature to move throughout its healthy range. And that combined factor, along with allowing fluid fascia, right? So we have this bony idea and this muscular idea and this fascial idea. And when they all come together, that's when we really can see optimal health and function of our joints and our tissues overall throughout the body. So let's talk a little bit about what chiropractic adjustments can be great for, which is, yes, mobilizing a bone that is stuck or subluxated is the more clinical term. Okay, so when might this not be the most supportive? Well, let's think about something like joint instability, which if you have ever had pubic symphysis dysfunction, pelvic girdle pain, SI joint pain, I find that those are mostly due to joint instability within the female pelvis. And I know for myself, speaking personally, I used to go to the chiropractor all the time, like several times a week, to address my SI joint pain, my hip and pelvic pain. But I found that over time, this actually didn't help my pain. What it did is it felt better in the moment, but then a few days, maybe a week later, I would need to have that same adjustment, and it wasn't helping me create the stability that I needed long term. And let's think about why. If instability within the pelvic bowl is a common cause of a lot of pelvic pain in women, then consistently moving the bones, right, when they are maybe in that specific position because that's the only place they can find stability, can actually breed more instability back into the pelvis. I mean, well, that just seems logical, right? If something is not stable, moving it around all the time might not be part of the recipe for success. That doesn't mean that it being stuck is part of the recipe for success either, but let's actually dig one layer deeper. Why are our bones not moving throughout that healthy range? And that becomes a muscular and a fascial question, specifically in the pelvis. Going back to what I mentioned about our musculature, when we want them to expand and contract and we want them to really be mobile throughout their full range. If that musculature is lacking that ability, then there's no way it can consistently assert force on the bone that is going to keep that bone mobilized throughout the range of motion of the joint. So, therefore, we might go get repetitive chiropractic adjustments, but without addressing the soft tissue components, we often can be doing more harm than good because we're robbing our bodies of the little stability that they have found without actually building the support that's required. I see this all the time with women who have this type of pelvic pain, and this was definitely a piece of my puzzle personally. So, what to do? This is where I shifted. I kind of stopped going and I backed off a little bit, and I really focused on understanding what was going on in my body, really feeling into what felt good, what was helpful, and starting to build up strength and postural adjustments and sort of build up my repository of things that would allow me to activate my pelvic musculature and soften my fascial adhesion. So essentially soft tissue work and strength training. Along with, I shifted to a different style of chiropractic care that was focused on low force adjustments. So rather than the like clink clink or clunk clunk of moving the bones, these subtle maybe activator or various adjustment techniques that weren't as drastic could help the bone maybe shift itself, right? Or help the muscle maybe assist the bone in moving, but it was less drastic and definitely didn't exacerbate the instability that I felt. So one time where I think this can be incredibly useful, or chiropractic care, I should say, can be incredibly useful, is in pregnancy and in the postpartum period. There is naturally a lot of range of motion that is happening within the pelvic bones, right? There's increased range of motion during pregnancy and postpartum. So we might wonder, why then should I be adding maybe more mobility? And this is where I would say we don't actually want to add more mobility, but we do want to keep things gliding and sliding and moving because that's the design of pregnancy. But we also want that stable structure from the musculature. So bony mobility supported by soft tissue stability, right? Specifically muscular stability, because our fascial tissue is full of relaxin during these times and not going to be the strongest stabilizing structure. So really focus on our muscular stability along with some assistance in maybe helping our bones move as they are more mobile in healthy and optimal ways. So what does this have to do with your ability to actually speak to your care providers, whoever you're talking to? One, the more we know about our female physiology, the more that we understand about any maybe care or support for our health or otherwise that we're receiving, the better we can advocate for ourselves. And this is true even with holistic and integrated health professionals. I know that I was like, okay, I'm not going through this allopathic model. I feel like I can help myself. I'm going to find this whole array of different, integrated professionals that can help me with my chronic pain and my various pelvic health concerns. But what I found out was that a lot of those professionals were not necessarily well-versed in female physiology, and that they didn't actually have just an integrated approach to the unique needs of female pelvic health. So the more I was able to understand not only what I was actually asking for, so in the terms of chiropractic care, I'm not asking you to move my bone back into place, but maybe just the simple understanding of asking for assistance in sort of remobilizing subluxated structures and what that means. So even just understanding the basic physiology of what I'm going for would allow me to speak more clearly and ask specifically for what I wanted and what I did not want. The ability to ground into our own physiological understanding and to take the time to really clarify what it is that we are interested in for our bodies, and then learning how to speak that clearly, how to talk about our bodies, how to talk about our wishes, and how to speak in no uncertain terms is a crucial skill that all of us need, not just for advocating for our health, but just for moving through our lives and our world in general. And so if you are interested in building more of these skills, not just your female physiological understanding, but how to talk about it, how to teach about it, and how to integrate it into your work, whatever it may be, even if it's just the work of talking to your chiropractor, that is what we're going to dive into really deeply in my women's work program. This is my favorite program that I teach because we really get to look at not just why women need to be centered in every aspect of our lives, but also what our physiology has to do with our sort of social and environmental conditions, so to speak, and then really how to communicate what we need and what we want and how to center our female bodies clearly, and then how all of that content relates to wanting to serve women or just be a woman of service to your community or your family. So if you're interested in this, my Women's Work program is currently open for enrollment, and I'm so excited. We're in early bird pricing right now if you're watching this when it comes out. If you are watching this later down the road, it might still be enrolling, so I'm just really excited. You can go to my website and check that out. It's called Women's Work. And if you do have any thoughts or questions about chiropractic care, again, I'm not a chiropractor, though I do think it would have maybe been a good field to study for me, but I went a different route. Please pop your experiences or your questions in the comments below, and feel free to send me any questions about chiropractic care in your specific circumstance. I get these questions all the time as to, well, I have this or that going on in terms of my body or my bones or my history. Do you think I should go check out a chiropractor? And while I'm sure I would have an opinion about that, I more want you to be informed enough for you to have your own opinion about that and feel really clear about making empowered decisions and communicating them in your health. So reach out if you do have any questions, and we'll talk soon.